Okay, Sherry. We are going to be filming this so it can be viewed by those who aren't here today, and it'll be given to the family as well, so they have a record of your stories and kind of what's going on. So Sherry Chenin, our Minister of Family Ministries, is kind of getting this squared away and set up, and then we're going to have her come up here and share a little bit herself first. So I'm Rob Scanlon, and I'm going to be the MC this morning for this part of the celebration. Sherry, are you, we good? You want to come up and, okay, very good. So as Pastor Dan said, he tried to slip in and be part of the Davis family, and I don't blame him one bit for that. I think everybody in this room, having interacted with Bob for the last 4 years, and many of you far longer than that, want to be part of the Davis family because we loved him dearly, and I certainly felt like he was a brother of mine, and I know many of you feel the same way about him, and we will hear about that. And Sherry's going to kick this off, so come on down.
Just run upstairs and back down. 3, 2, 1. If you know, you know. And if you don't, talk to somebody next to you. I'm Sherry Gurney, and I'm sorry I'm breathing hard because I saw Rob here and I ran upstairs to start the camera and the door was locked and I ran downstairs and yelled for some keys and they got tossed at me and I ran back upstairs. And as many stairs as I do here, I'm not in shape. So I loved hearing people speaking about Bob because it just affirmed all the things that I knew and felt about him or feel about him. I'm the family ministry coordinator, and it was always fun working with Bob. He was snarky, and I cherish our texts because they were just usually either directions having to do with filming or they were snarky. And when I interviewed for the job, it had been a few years since I'd interviewed and nothing in ministry, but I came prepared. I felt I was pretty prepared and sat down with Bob and the team, and afterwards I got in my car and drove home and slept for 3 hours. I guess that's what you get for having a lawyer interview you. And I could tell so many stories. But I'm gonna share this one, maybe two. I'll try to keep it very short. But he and I developed Aunt Betty's studio, and we loved doing it, but we had no idea what we were doing, and we just kind of learned on the fly, and we would find ourselves in some sort of ridiculous predicament. Most lately, the one that comes to mind that everybody loves is we're doing midweek announcements, the Mary and Sherry show, and Mary wasn't there, and I was trying to get him to come over and do them with me, and he really didn't want to be on camera. So we pulled out the sock puppets, and we had a Bob sock puppet and a Sherry sock puppet, and we were down below the table with our arms up here like this, and our sock puppets are arguing with each other. Like we're arguing with each other, but we're doing it through the sock puppets. And so many times he would look at me and he would say, "They didn't teach me this in seminary." And my last in-person conversation with him came up again, my attending Flourish Institute of Theology, which is going to start this fall. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do it without being able to just drop into his office and ask him questions. But I got 4 years of him, and I learned so much, and I will carry that with me forever, along with the snarkiness, the 3, 2, 1, and all of that. So,
thanks, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry. I'll tell you one story about Aunt Betty's studio as well. Myself and my good buddy Dan Skinkis did a little podcast, and hopefully we're going to do a few more episodes called The Christian Journey, A Look Behind the Curtain. And I remember distinctly about our third episode, we had done about 30, 45 minutes of kind of discussion, and Bob said, "Okay, what was that?" And we kind of looked at each other, "What do you mean, what was that?" He said, "Do it all over." So we started all over. And every time he did that, throughout the many episodes that we did, he was the ultimate producer. He knew where we were headed before we did. And he kept us on the path. And that path is the one that we're all on, and that is to be followers of Jesus Christ. And he was incredibly awesome at it. So who would like to share a story next? Come on up.
Hi, aloha. My name is Yerito. As you can tell, I'm from Hawaii. I'm one of the lay pastors that Pastor Bob trained us. I remember when he was coming to train the five of us, and wasn't funny, but all five of us have no or very little Presbyterian background or even theological training. So he had to squeeze 2 years worth of stuff into 1 week. Can you imagine just the intensity of just doing that? And he was so patient with us, especially with me, because I was asking questions like infant baptism, dedication, that kind of thing. So we were just going back and forth, and sometimes I don't catch his jokes, because I'm actually from Singapore, so the American part joke, I was like, I don't understand. Okay. But he was so loving. And I remember when we were, one of the requirements for the lay pastors, which they don't do it now, I don't know why, is that you had to be presented to the presbytery and they will ask you questions on the spot. We were mortified. Before even the test began, we were all sitting around, taking our notes, trying to prepare for the thing. But but he was so encouraging. He's like, "It's okay, no worries, just go." And as Pastor Dan has said, he made a different impact for our church. Really, if it's not because of him and the team that he was working with, the church First Pres wouldn't be where we are now. We are really, really grateful for his life, his ministry, and we'll miss him.
So one thing, being in this room is incredibly special to me. As many of you know, Bob was an incredible advocate for Night Off the Streets, the homeless shelter here in Carson City. And this last year was a tough year, and I was blessed a few times to be the volunteer on Sunday morning. And we would wake everybody up at 6 o'clock in the morning. They were sleeping all over the floor where you are now. And at 6:01, in would come Bob, dressed for church, and he would be setting up tables, oftentimes by himself, to get ready for coffee hour on a Sunday morning. And talk about a servant leader. He was that. And that was part of his spreading the gospel here in Carson City. And we heard from Pastor Dan, where he was, in addition, during his life, spreading the gospel to the ends of the earth. And so just kind of who he was. So who would like to come up next?
I do.